And welcome to the first game of the top 8 of the Rainbow Pitch League. My name is Kiki, and today I'm with Mara. How are you?
I am just splendid today. Pretty excited for this game.
It should be very exciting. And speaking of exciting, our prizes for the top 8 have been sponsored by Legend Story Studios, Fabrary, TCG TED, Premier Card Grading, Metal Fab Tokens, The Realm Games, Fresh and Buds, and our very own Melody Likes. So today we're featuring two players we've seen already. We have Yuki on the left playing Lexi, and Arya on the right playing Dorinthea. Now, we did have Mara and Yuki in round 6 of the league. Um, so Mara here will offer us some very interesting insights. But it looks like we're starting off with an Arctic Incarceration, putting 3 Frostbites and also getting to use the Lexi ability. Just going for a big setup turn, kind of on turn 0, without giving Arya the ability to kind of mulligan her hand almost, or, kind of redraw some new cards. How do you feel about that turn?
I This is a pretty big start for Yuki. Getting the 3 frostbites as well as getting the double load in Arsenal means Arya is going to go into this game with a pretty disrupted first turn, and Yuki's looking at a 6 card opener.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, one thing I notice is that normally when you have this sort of like double arsenal situation, it's pretty hard to give go again without using the Snapdragon Scalers. But one of the cards we do see face up in the arsenal is Bolton Shot, which can give itself go again should it get the damage bonus. So I guess we're kind of expecting Yuki to probably either have a way to buff this Bolton Shot or potentially or hope to get one rather.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty big telegraph that face down card is probably something like a Rain Razors or a Premeditate.
Mm-hmm.
Something to just set up the guarantee that Bolton shot's probably going to have go again at the start of this turn.
Mm-hmm. So we didn't see any blocks on Yuki's side there, and Arya just attacked with the Dawnblade and Arsenal, so Yuki can't be too upset about that at the moment. Looks like they're setting up a life total counter for us, which is very nice.
Appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that first turn Arctic Incarceration already just really doing a lot of work. We saw Arya have to pitch 3 cards just to get that first Dawnblade swing.
Mm-hmm.
I think Yuki's pretty confident in the abilities that Arya probably doesn't have a lot of follow up after that.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Okay, so here we're seeing this Bolton Shot without the bonus. So currently it's just a 0 for 4. Its abilities haven't triggered to give reload and go again just yet. Um, so let's see if you're right about that Rain Razors call over here. And if so, that'd be pretty big. A 6 card hand with Rain Razors is quite a lot of damage.
yeah, that's definitely where Yuki wants to be. Oh nope, looks like we're
Nope.
just gonna get that. We're just gonna get the Snapdragons on the first turn. Um,
Hmm.
So Yuki, I think here is kind of an interesting where she's saying, I don't have that initial go again, but I am willing to just break that Snapdragons on the first turn to start this game very aggressively.
Hmm. And there we're seeing the Lexi ability to reveal an endless arrows. So we're going to get a few arrows here. That one does cost 0. We might get a 4 arrow turn potentially with the double activation of Voltaire here.
Oh, almost certainly, I think. They say going in with that 6 card hand is just going to be real scary.
Oh, for
Um,
sure.
Also, the
Hmm.
fact that we are still in the pre ban on the bracers.
Yep.
Um, Also, just kind of another little way that we can set up this big wide turn
Yep.
if she feels like she needs it.
Hmm. So here we see a Searing Shot for 4. This is functionally 5 damage if unblocked due to the 1 life loss it deals to the defending player if it hits. And Arya choosing not to take that doesn't have sort of a meaningful on hit other than life. But here we see another Searing Shot for 4, so maybe we're adding more meaning to this life loss.
Yeah, Yuki just coming out of the gates very strong here. Just this first turn presenting a lot of damage.
Hmm.
Um, I'm gonna assume we're probably also gonna see that endless arrow coming in behind this, as well as her getting that arsenal.
Yeah, she still has 1 card in hand, 2 Arsenal. And yeah, imagine if that was that Rain Razors that we kind of suspected.
Yeah, no, I can imagine this would be a terrifying turn if we had the rain razors.
For sure, for sure. So Arya here is kind of in a bind where like this is 5 damage, but potentially the endless arrows might be the priority here for Arya. She does have a lot of equipment to block with. The refraction bolter is doing a great job of being able to block these 4 damage hits, so she might be saving the
Mhm,
refraction bolters for that under the assumption that Yuki will play the endless arrows.
mhm.
Um, and Oh, and there we see the damage. So already on 26, that's 14 damage dealt so far.
Yeah.
Here's a
Oh
codex.
no! This is a frighteningly strong start for our dear ranger.
So we're not going to see this endless arrows hit.
Yeah.
Like I just mentioned, like it's pretty easy to block out with equipment. Um, so
Mm-hmm.
instead, it looks like we're going to get a third searing shot this turn,
Uh,
and that frailty token is pretty frustrating for heroes that use a weapon. And I don't know, I feel like Dorinthea might be the kind of hero that really relies on her weapon.
oh yeah, I think I've heard rumors about the fabled Dorinthea weapon build.
Hmm. Okay, so we're finally getting some equipment blocks here. Arya
Mhm.
really wants to keep every card in her hand, well, except for the one she just put on the bottom. But
Sure.
outside of that, it looks like she wants to keep 5 cards and try to pressure with this Dawnblade, and she's going to need a bunch
Mhm.
of resources if she wants to get this Dawnblade above the blocking potential of all these 3 defense arrows.
So yeah, we're seeing Yuki choosing not to Arsenal.
Hmm.
So this is, I think, one of the interesting things about burning that Snapdragon Scalers so early is that because she has the face up arrow, she is a little bit more restricted on what she's able to Arsenal here.
Hmm.
Because just like we saw with the last turn, if you put 2 arrows face up or 2 arrows in the arsenal, you're not going to have access to that Voltaire go again.
Yeah.
So, Yuki sacrificing that Snapdragon Escalators does cost her just a little bit in terms of losing that arsenal for her next turn.
Hmm. Yep, very valid point. So essentially, she wasn't able to make use of that Ponder token whatsoever there.
Hmm.
But we're gonna swing it back to Arya's turn. Has a bit of a life deficit to catch up on, but with a full 5 cards, one of which was kind of selected a little bit. Oh, here we go. So,
That glistening looking to answer back with a strong turn of her own.
mhm.
Oh, is that glistening into silver? Wow, no wonder she didn't want to block.
Yep, we can't blame her for this whatsoever. This is a
Yeah.
massive turn. It did cost 2 cards to pitch for this, though. She had to pitch a yellow and a red, so I believe she
Hmm.
has 1 card left in hand. But this is 4 damage right here.
Yeah.
And Yuki doesn't really have blocking equipment, so this is going to take
Hmm.
multiple cards to kind of stop this.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the things about the Ranger deck is the Ranger deck does not particularly like to block a whole lot. Like you
Hmm.
said, no real blocking equipment. So she's looking at, if she wants to stop this, she's gonna have to give up 2 cards here.
Hmm. And of course, if you only defend with 2 cards, almost all of Dorinthea's buffs will like threaten 3 more kind of damage.
Hmm.
So if you only block for 6, this will go over the top, it will draw the card, it will get the counter, and then the second hit's going to be even more devastating to try to stop.
Yeah. Although if since she doesn't, I don't think she has any resources floating right now.
Hmm.
Having to pitch that red and the yellow does mean that a lot of those reactions are going to be probably off the table right now. Like I think Iron Song response is probably the biggest thing that Yuki has to consider at the moment.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. Basically, has to be Iron Song response. Yeah, the tunic's not live yet.
Hmm.
No available resources to Arya, and I'm sure she's disappointed that she didn't have a blue on that turn because that'd be the difference of
Oh,
the whole
absolutely.
card. um, Now I guess maybe this is the kind of play she makes in the hopes that Yuki respects it with 3 cards. Yep, there we go,
And there we go.
and is only able to come back with 1 card or 2 cards, I guess, the endless arrows in Yuki's following turn. So it was kind of a
Yeah.
tempo play. It's
Hmm.
sad to see those power cards kind of go, but it's kind of what you needed to do to make sure you don't just get run over there. And there we see
Yeah.
a second arsenal. So unlikely to be an arrow that Lex go again.
Yeah, I think that definitely, like we said, talking about, Yuki really doesn't want to put that second arm arrow without go again in Arsenal. So
Hmm.
I think that's a pretty safe assumption that this is probably going to be something that she can get out of that Arsenal pretty easily. Either that Rains Razors we've talked about, or either or a Falcon Wing, or another non-attack action.
Hmm. Something like a premeditate, or even maybe like a 3 of a kind, perhaps.
Hmm.
Um, Okay, so the first Dawnblade hit, and we're getting a run through. This is a super powerful reaction that gives go again to the Dawnblade, but also gives a 2 power damage bonus to the second attack. So this next Dawnblade, not only does did this first Dawnblade hit, and now it's threatening the Dorinthea trigger the Dawnblade trigger to get a counter on it. But the second attack is already buffed, so this
Yeah.
run through kind of doing double duty here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is definitely something. Oh, and we got another buff.
Mm-hmm.
That hit and run coming in for another. I can safely presume another +2. I think that's a yellow.
Yeah, it is yellow.
Yep.
So now this Dawnblade's coming in for 7, and she still has cards in hand as well. So
Hmm.
if the second hit does get blocked out, we do have to be kind of cautious of a twinning blade, because this sword is going to have go again. Even though you can only attack twice with the sword normally, a twinning blade will allow you to potentially get in a third
Hmm.
time.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see if Yuki, how much Yuki values that Dawnblade counter, whether or not she thinks she's safe to allow that first counter and then swing back with a big another 6 card hand, or
Hmm.
if she wants to play this a little bit slower and a little bit safer. That first Dawnblade counter I think is always kind of the most scary, because just pushing the natural Dawnblade over from a 3 to a 4 is a big deal.
Yeah. Of course, damage-wise, the difference between 4 and 5 does add up over time. But like you said, like being able to block cleanly in multiples of 3 versus having to deal with that additional 1, it's kind of like having the Brave Forge braces kind of active always, and that just makes it really difficult to block. Speaking of the Brave Forge braces, here we go. So
Yep.
this is coming in for 8 damage. This is going to demand 3 cards if Yuki wants to kind of respect this counter. If she doesn't, the life totals will be even, but Yuki will have a 6 card hand to come back with, and to try to
Yeah.
force the counter off purely by removing cards from Arya's hand instead.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting decision to see how she handles this, because it's always tempting with those big hands to just kind of say, you know what, send me the bill. Let's just take it and crack back as hard as you can. But that Dawnblade has a nasty habit of getting out of hand fast.
Mm-hmm. Very much the kind of case where it's very like unsuspecting, just
Yeah.
how big that impact is over the course of a game, and the longer it
Yep.
stays on, then the more frustrating it's going to be. But it looks like
And
we
it
just took the
looks
full
like
8
Yuki says it.
damage.
Yep.
We're just going to see haymakers from both players in this game. I don't imagine a lot
Yeah.
of
No, I
blocking
think
going
I
on, it
think
seems.
I think we are setting up for a fairly quick game of Flesh and Blood. You know.
Hmm. And here we see that Rain Razors.
Yep, you are absolutely correct. So yeah, we're looking to just set up that big 6 card Rain Razor's turn.
Hmm. Hmm. And we have a pitch for the blue here, so we have the resources. And here we have a Heat Seeker. Heat Seeker's a very powerful card.
Hmm.
Now, when this hits, at the end of your turn, you put the top card of your deck face up into an arsenal slot that you have available. And this is 7 damage. So this is kind of a way to get card advantage in this Lexi deck, because she does need quite a lot of cards to pitch to use the weapons and such. Um, but this does kind of come with a downside where it's mandatory to do so. So it would be almost unfortunate if we catch Yuki in a case where she already has a card in Arsenal, still for whatever reason, and then is forced to Arsenal's second card without that Snapdragon Scalers. But
Yeah. Um.
with a player as experienced as her, I don't imagine that's going to happen. But we're not going to see that anyway. This is a full
Yeah.
block for 7 here.
Hmm.
Get a little opt.
Yeah, I,
Mm-hmm.
I think this matchup is kind of an interesting one too, because I think now we're seeing Arya somewhat in the same position we saw Yuki in last turn, where Arya really wants to protect that counter on the Dawnblade. She wants to come back with this big hand to be able to push that damage over and protect that counter, keep it on, and then maybe grow the Dawnblade a little bit larger. But every card that she blocks with here is one less resource she'll have access to on her next turn.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so she's definitely in a situation where she's going to have to make some real hard decisions between playing this defensive game and stopping these pretty scary on hits from the Lexi player, where we've got both the Seed Seeker and the Endless Arrow being represented.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Now, in
so
this
and,
case,
and it,
the what is it? The Bolton shot
mhm,
is just a vanilla go again
yeah,
7.
correct.
So at least there's one on hit we don't have to worry about here.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, but this is a great case of like defense by offense, right? Like Yuki's doing the best she can to pressure Arya's hand with some powerful effects, and like that the dominated action. I'm really bad with names. The dominate action on the sword would have been a great way to keep the counter on the Dawnblade, but
yeah.
Iron
I think
Song's
that's Iron
determination.
Determination. Yeah.
Yeah. But we're not going to see that here because it's been blocked with. And Yuki really wanting to make the most of this turn pitches a blue for this. That's a drill shot. I can't quite tell with the glare.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a glare, and I can't tell either. Um, the quiver activation is a little bit interesting there. Just
Hmm.
a little bit worse. Yep, that is in fact another. Is that a red drill shot? No.
It's
Yeah,
a
red.
blue
No,
drill
it's a
shot.
blue drill shot. Okay.
Yeah,
We have the rain razors pushing it to 4.
yeah. Now I have to
Um,
suspect in this case, Yugi needs this kind of endless arrows to kind of close the game out, or that's like kind of the plan with it.
mhm.
And without it, the equipment block is just kind of too easy because it's still there with the. I'm so bad with the names. The leg piece. I even said its name before.
Snapdragon
Refraction
scales.
bulges. There we go.
Oh, those. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Granted, the endless arrows would have been 6 cards, so it would have kind of forced every card out of Arya's hand and made the Dawnblade attack much less threatening.
Hmm.
As it stands, though, she still has the endless arrow. She has 4 cards in hand, but we have this Dawnblade with 2 resources and 1 card in arsenal. So this could
Right.
represent potentially up to 7 damage. And if that's a route, you kind of need to block 10 on that to stop this.
Yeah. Um, I think it's probably unlikely that we're gonna see a go again on this arrow.
Hmm.
But even just enough to just push a little bit of damage through and keep that counter on is still very relevant here.
Yeah, agreed. Just needs to make sure she has that counter so she can kind of keep the pressure on throughout the game.
Hmm.
Um, you don't really want to be in a position where you lose that counter and are still forced to block anyway.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, interesting that both players do have access to the tunic now as well. So
Hmm.
with the amount of resources these decks use, like that's the difference of a card potentially, right
Oh, for
there.
sure. Um, and now we are seeing a little bit the power of just that single counter on the Dawnblade here, where if Yuki wants to block this out, she's gonna have to give 2 cards.
Hmm.
Um, whereas if
Or
she
maybe
had
even
if she
three.
kept the other one, it's true. Well, yeah, it could possibly even be 3 if she wants to respect the potential for an attack reaction out of Arsenal.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, Yuki says send it.
So now we have an interesting position for Arya, where you still have the resources to maybe come in for a second attack, and that like
Hmm.
if you do come in for a second attack, you're losing the refraction bolters, but you're almost kind of daring Yuki to block at that point. Like, and this is again a case of defense by offense, where you're threatening so much that you're taking cards out of your opponent's hand, so they come back at you with less kind of oomph.
Yeah, I think that's actually very interesting. A very interesting decision for Arya here, whether or not she wants to just keep this pressure on.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
you know,
And she does still have that reaction, well, presumed
mhm. Oh,
reaction
that
in the
she has
arsenal.
she has that card still sitting in Arsenal, and then one card from Dorinthea can just always represent quite a bit.
Hmm.
Um,
So as long as that's not an overpower,
yeah.
it's
Um,
still very much live if it's a damage bonus. And here we are going to see the
and yep,
refraction bulges. Arya
sure
is
enough.
turning the corner, trying to take control of this game and threaten Yuki with some powerful on hits. But this kind of shows her hand a little bit, I think, by spending the resource on the Braveforge braces as well. So that's all the resources used. Although she still does have the tunic resource, so this could still be a 1 cost plus 3.
Hmm. Yeah, I think even just the representing of that tunic resource is telegraphing so much, just to say, here's all the things that I could, and Yuki just takes it. The
Mm-hmm.
Stoneblade's starting to get pretty big.
Uh huh.
Yuki must be very confident in this hand.
I have to imagine. Her decision to not block did not take very long.
No,
Okay, so we are getting a Frostlock here. Pitch to blue for it. Do we get the fuse as well?
that is no. It looks like it is unfused.
Unfused. Just go again. 3 damage. This is almost vanilla here. We're not going to see any
Hmm.
reactions on this uh attack. So yeah, I guess maybe she's trying to catch Arya out with like being stuck on defense reactions, maybe, or maybe it's just the only attack she kind of had there. She did pitch a
Yeah,
blue and play a blue, so
yeah.
imagine she's pretty
Almost.
heavy on resources. Oh, there's a Rain Razor.
Yeah, sure. I was just about to say it's almost a little surprising that she would hold a hand like this if she didn't have something big to like a Rain Razors to follow it up. And Yuki beat me to the punch.
Hmm.
Um,
And here's a Searing Shot.
yeah, so now we can definitely see why Yuki was so eager to keep that hand. These Rain Razors turns, you want to just go as wide as possible to get as much value out of that card as you possibly can.
Hmm. For sure, for sure. So here we're seeing almost 7 damage, functionally 7, but it's 6 for
Mm-hmm.
now, so it can be blocked by 6. Crucially, what I notice here is that we have 6+1 from this, and Endless Arrows will be 6 as well. There's like a non-zero chance that Arya chooses not to block any of this and goes to 1.
Yeah, this is like I said, this is shaping up to be a very quick, pretty aggressive game.
Hmm.
Going to 1 against that Lexi is definitely very scary. Lexi can
Hmm.
present a lot of tough breakpoints with some pretty scary on hits.
Yeah.
Although I guess the on hit's not super relevant when you're at 1. But those breakpoints are still very relevant here.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, Arya just takes this.
Hmm.
Um,
I do kind of
I'll
think
be
this would be the attack to block, though. Because if you block this one, then Yuki's left with a 4 card hand rather than a 5 card hand. If you had to block one of them, you'd probably give
oh,
it the 1
absolutely.
life to make sure Yuki doesn't have an extra card in hand. And the
Oh,
Stoneblade
absolutely.
coming in for 5 is still going to be obnoxious to try to stop.
Hmm.
So I do like the no block on the Searing Shot. Um, but yeah, interesting. If Arya
Yeah.
does want to be bold enough to go to 1, I don't recommend it in this position, but.
Yeah, it's definitely like I said, it's a little scary, but I think a block on this endless arrow seems like something that she would likely want to do. Like say, if even if she's gonna go low, she'll be able to still she has that arsenal plus 2 more cards in hand. I think can still
Mhm.
present a pretty decent turn, especially with that tunic counter up.
Yeah.
Um, and with that Dawnblade already on 5, I think it's starting to get to that point where the Dawnblade's starting to get scary, and Yuki's gonna have to start considering that she either needs to close this game out quickly or she's gonna have to spend a turn to deal with those Dawnblade counters.
Hmm. And here we're seeing a block for 1. So not quite going to 2, unless we see a reaction here. Yeah, there we go. Going to 2,
Oh,
not quite 1, but just making sure we get the value off that Brave Forge bracers
yeah.
before you kind of miss your shot. But like it didn't prevent any on hits there, so this is a pretty big comeback here.
Oh man. Yeah, I was just about to say, Arya must be very confident in this
Oh
hand.
my goodness.
Oh, there's that Iron Song determination we were just talking about. That this is
Hmm.
coming in for that big dominated. Was this 8? I think it is.
Yes. So this is 8 with Dominate. Doesn't currently have Go again, but we do see 2 cards in hand, or rather 2 cards available to her, with
Yep.
up to 3 resources with that tunic available as well. Is there any way to block this without reactions if you're Yuki? Like, you only have 3 block available to you in your equipment, and you lose your second arsenal slot if you did so, but that's only stopping 6.
Yeah, I think getting that armor block here is going to be pretty tough. Losing the New Horizon would be pretty rough for her game plan. Um,
Hmm.
but then, I mean, we're looking at even if she blocks with a card, she's going to be taking 6 here at least, or at least 5 here,
Hmm.
um, and we're going to allow Arya to draw that extra card from the Steelblade Supremacy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, this is definitely looking to be a big turn for Arya. Um, whether or not she can do 17 though is gonna be something we'll have to see. And Yuki's
Yeah.
still sitting with that arsenal and Arya's still at 2. This is definitely coming to a very tense game.
Hmm. So if we assume there's like a Glint the Quicksilver here, baseline you're dealing 8 plus 8 damage, which is 16, which isn't quite enough, so you do need a bonus here. But here
Yep,
is the
and
Glint the
sure enough.
Quicksilver. We are drawing a card, and this is going to hit, and we're going to draw another card as well. And we have an Iron Song response as
Oh,
well, just to make sure the damage goes through. So we're taking 8 damage here. This is going to 11.
um,
And I like the use of Iron Song response here. Like, there's no guarantee, like, Yuki's going to block the second attack.
I was gonna say the same thing. I think just taking that opportunity to get those reprise triggers off now, just in case Yuki decides that she's willing to risk it on the next attack.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, the next attack
Um,
is going to force some sort of block at the very least, but or it
And
could
there's another.
potentially
Oh,
just be
um,
lethal. This is 11. Oh, no, there's equipment still.
yeah.
So this is now going to come in for 11 as it stands. Let's make that 12. And we have 2 resources
Yeah.
remaining here. But this is completely open information now. We have 12 damage coming in here. We're going to be losing equipment from Yuki. This is a rough position to be in.
Yeah, Yuki's definitely gonna have to give up a card and at least that tunic. I think if she's willing to go to one, she can block with a card plus the tunic and preserve that New Horizon for one more turn, so that
Hmm.
she doesn't just lose the card out of her arsenal, which I suspect is what we'll see here.
Yeah. At least if you're Yuki here, you have to be a little bit happy that you don't have to play any other tricks for the remainder of this turn. There's
Oh, for
nothing
sure.
else available. We know this
Yeah,
is exactly 12. But this is gonna get the third counter. If Arya's even in with the tunic, even if she has to block with every card in her hand, she's still gonna come in for 6 the next turn and force 2 cards out of Yuki's hand, which will
yeah.
impact Yuki's ability to close the game out.
Hmm. Yeah, I think Arya's discipline holding that tunic counter as long as she had is really going to pay off in her next turn. If Yuki can't present lethal in this turn, Arya can still just block a 4 card hand and still just send 6 with just the tunic counter.
Hmm. So Yuki's contemplating a block here. And doing the smart thing of not revealing it just yet, so she has the ability to change her
Hmm.
mind without revealing information to the opponent. Hmm.
Yeah.
Such a difficult position to be in.
Hmm.
And unfortunately for her, Yuki's never actually used the tunic counter through the entirety of this game as well. So
Yeah.
with the face down arsenal, she can't even use it on the Voltaire here. It's just
Yep.
going to be used as an iron rod. It's blocking for 1.
Yeah. This is a very expensive Iron Rock Gauntlet right here.
Hmm.
Iron Rock chest, I guess.
A
Uh,
very fancy one.
so yeah, Yuki going to 1, and now Yuki definitely has to be thinking, how many cards can she take out of Arya's hand here?
Hmm. And again, even with that, if Arya's left with 1 card in hand, there's the Dawnblade, there's the Arsenal, and a resource card. Like, it's going to be pretty difficult to not have to commit 3 cards to that.
Yeah. Yeah, even just the threat of this Arsenal card, I think, if we've seen 2 of those Iron Song determinations or the Iron Song responses already, but even if there's just one more left in this deck, like Yuki has to respect that.
For sure, for sure. And Yuki's gonna do a little bit of thinking here, I think. With 2 cards in hand, 1 card in arsenal, and only 1 point of life remaining. This is a hugely difficult spot to be in.
Hmm. Yeah, you have to wonder if Yuki is reconsidering some of that early aggression, just like we said earlier, that Dawnblade can just get out of hand so quickly.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, so like the Steelblade Supremacy doesn't add that much of a bonus. The Iron Song Determination doesn't add that much of a bonus. Like that functionally only added +3 for those 2 cards
Hmm.
in the initial sword, but those 2 counters essentially made it a 3 card block that wasn't possible because of the Dominate. So those counters
Yeah,
really added up there.
yeah. Just being able to just push just that extra bit over the top just matters so much.
Hmm. And of course, there's always going to be different lines you can take when you play Flesh and Blood, right? Like,
Oh, absolutely.
how are you supposed to know if your opponent's going to have that massive turn in response to your massive turn? Specifically,
Hmm.
that. Like, it could have
Yeah,
been anything. If that was a run through instead of a Glint the Quicksilver, then the math would have been different there too. So,
yeah, yeah. And of course, like, I definitely don't want to count Yuki out of this yet. Like we mentioned earlier, Arya's still at 2, and Ranger is really good at hitting those really awkward, tough to stop breakpoints.
hmm.
If Yuki can throw 2 arrows here, which I suspect she probably will be able to do, if both of those 2 arrows are 5 power, you're gonna strip Arya of that whole hand.
Hmm.
Um, and then if that card left in Arsenal isn't exactly, an uh Iron Song response, then Yuki will have the ability to give 2 cards, clear off those Dawnblade counters, and then be right back in the driver's seat.
hmm. Now, Yuki did block with a blue and a red, which suggests the resources may be okay, but she did also have to block with 3 defense cards just to kind of stay in this game. to go to 1. So it's possible that the cards in hand either don't block or block for 2. So Arya's done the smart thing here by blocking for 6, just to make sure that this gets over Rain Razors, potentially. We have seen 2 of them, but
Notably, this is the card that came from Arsenal, and this does not have go again.
correct. Yep. So, yeah, I assume the cards in hand kind of don't do enough here. We're seeing a Voltaire activation. There's the Rain Razors, and she's put in a red drill shot, I believe.
Hmm.
Or maybe it's blue.
I can't quite tell in the glare, but yeah. So definitely an interesting spot for Yuki to be in.
Mm-hmm.
Still taking 2 cards here, but Arya definitely coming back with a 2-card hand plus that Arsenal and that Tunic activation still up.
Mm-hmm. So it looks like Yuki's asking to see the graveyard to see what's kind of in there at the moment. We're going to just see all these nice cards that Arya's played. But in the meantime, Yuki did try to be a little bit cheeky in the last turn. She did have the Rain Razors that Arya did respect, and it paid off. But so she could have gone for the line where she went for like a double arrow kind of situation there. But if that's a blue instead of a red for that drill shot, that's not applying enough pressure there to kind of like it's
Oh
kind
yeah,
of
I think you're right.
a
So yeah, I think Yuki definitely just hoping that Arya might get a little greedy on this turn. Arya really well with just playing the safe and
mm-hmm.
playing it smart.
And like I think when you're on 2, you kind of can't afford to take 1 damage from an endless arrows, especially when there's 2 cards in hand and it's very suspect with a no go again.
Sure.
It could have been a lightning press as well.
Yeah.
Yuki did have lightning press against you, as we saw, and
Yeah.
it's a pretty scary card to kind of have to play around when you're this low in the game.
Oh, absolutely.
But here we're going to see some long decision points, maybe.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yuki definitely trying to contemplate every possible attack reaction that we could see here.
Mm-hmm.
We may even see Yuki just give up the hand to say, "Here's 12, go over the top." You
Mm-hmm.
know.
That's definitely an option. Being a ranger, it might not be 12. There might be some 2 blocks on there.
Sure. We can
But
we can hope. We can
yeah.
hope. We see Yuki at least contemplating the 3. Um,
Oh,
oh,
potentially a
there's
4.
there's yeah. Like I say, I think Yuki may just have to just say, "Here's the hand. Show me what you've got."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because she definitely needs to be able to take those counters off at this point. Like the 3 counters is real scary here.
Mm-hmm. That's a free Iron Song response every turn.
Hmm.
A 2 if you get to attack twice, but
Yeah, essentially the Dorinthea just has an extra point of intellect. Just a full card.
and there we go.
And there is that singing Steelblade.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna let her search for just the right thing in this situation. Is this gonna be enough to push her over?
And there's a route just to
There's the
reading it.
route.
Yeah, imagine in that case, like Yuki's in a position where she just had to block 9 rather than everything, and just kind of hope that she didn't have
Hmm.
it. But
Yeah, because yeah, we saw
yeah,
we saw that last card she just flipped up was in fact a codex that she didn't block with.
yep.
Um, so I think Yuki just hoping she didn't quite have enough to go over the top, but that's definitely a scary position. Well played to both of them though.
Well played indeed. Thank you everyone for joining us for the top 8.